Hollywood stocks are on the drop, and it could be because of AI. Investors spooked as they see the rise of the ability of people just to make whatever they want. What's the point of Netflix anymore? We're not sure either. Let's talk about it right now. Out of 24/7 Wall Street, Netflix stock dropped 6.5% this week amid Warner Brothers acquisition battle and AI concerns. We'll do the quick read. It says Netflix shares fell another 6.5% this week as the route in software stocks extended further across industries. The release of ByteDance's seedance 2.0 model shows remarkable video capability and raises new concerns about IP infringement in upcoming years. Netflix's attempts to get Warner Brothers' Discovery bid faces opposition. Monday.com dropped 25%. We don't care about that. But here's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. They're starting to take notice. We don't have to read the article. What you need to know is that Wall Street is now noticing, wait a minute, if people can make their own stuff now and they can distribute it on YouTube or wherever they want to, what is the point in Netflix? Why do we have to have gatekeepers offering a gate-kept platform of content if Joe Schmo 10 miles away from you is in his basement making content every day and releasing it on YouTube? And with AI, it can be anything he wants it to be and maybe anything you want it to be too. And that might be why we're seeing a slide in Netflix like perhaps we've never seen before. Over the last 6 months, ladies and gentlemen, Netflix is down almost 40%. At the same time that they're chasing Warner Brothers down almost 40%. That's a heck of a slide. It's almost as bad as Disney. And the Walt Disney Company is down 42.5% over the past 5 years. That's not good either, I would say. And yes, I get that there are other things involved, especially with Disney, which actually owns physical assets. And they'll be, they and Warner Brothers in an interesting spot because they have lots of brands, lots of IPs. And maybe that's the most valuable thing in the AI era we're heading into. But I'll tell you, investors are getting spooked because listen, we've been saying this. You've been hearing what we've said about this AI thing. We've been talking about it, predicting it. But they're now catching on that, yeah, it's really going to happen. This is out of futurism.com. New AI video generator is so impressive that it's scaring Hollywood. This is by Victor Tengerman. And you can see that we've switched now. Will Smith is no longer eating spaghetti. He is actually roundhouse kicking. He's not Chuck Norris. That's the flaw here. But he's roundhouse kicking spaghetti monsters. That's a good-looking spaghetti monster. That would be an expensive spaghetti monster for Hollywood. It says text-to-video generating tools have made tremendous leaps in a few short years. We went from a horrifying clip of actor Will Smith's contorted face temporarily merging with a bowl of spaghetti in 2023 to a far more realistic clip of him enjoying a plate of pasta, including a soundtrack of unnerving squelching and chomping sounds a mere 2 years later. Goes on to talk about how now, at the beginning of this year, we're seeing Wolverine fighting... who's the guy who snaps his finger, guys? Thanos. We've got Wolverine fighting Thanos. We've got Captain America versus Batman. We've got Lord of the Rings. They misspelled it. It should be Lord of the Rings. And folks, if you want to see what we're talking about, this is the kind of stuff. And we have to be really, really careful about what we play because anything that has any, that touches at all on IP or brands, if we play it here, we stand the risk of being taken down by places like Disney and things like that. But this is the stuff that's just being made on a single prompt. You can make anything. You can do anything you want now. And that's changing the game forever. Let me bring in another panelist right now, Andy Masterson, to join us and talk about all of it. Welcome aboard, Andy.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, evening, Andy. Andy, as we watch this, I'll let you go first. Last to arrive, first to opine. Andy, Hollywood's getting worried now. And I don't know if they just didn't believe us. A lot of people didn't believe us, but it's here. This is now a game changer, and it's beginning, I believe, to affect the stocks. What's next up, and why should people still believe in Netflix or any of these other studios that are IP only, studio only, that don't have physical assets, that don't have the kind of diversified portfolio of a Disney? Why should those content creation only places have a place in the future, given this is what anybody can do?
Well, they've not listened to their audience. They've done this thing where they were lecturing everybody, telling you what you needed to watch, and they weren't giving you the option. Like you guys were talking earlier today on that Park Place about this, and someone had brought up about like the talent that it takes to write I think the Culture said this, like with talent writing these productions, but one of the things with AI is I'm wondering about what is the the level of the audience. It's like there's a lot of people out there that like Taylor Swift. Now, it's not my cup of tea, but there's a lot of people that like Taylor Swift. Now, is she really like top tier level? In 30 years, are they going to be talking about her like they talk about Stevie Nicks? Probably not. It's like you see it with Madonna. She's desperately trying to hold on to her youth.
You're saying that some of these stars are manufactured and that behind the veil, they're not who people believe them to be?
Well, I think that the level of quality in the audience, we've kind of dumbed down the audience. The audience is willing to accept less and less stuff until it got to a point where everything was really, really bad. And now we're in this area where they don't necessarily know what's good. They just know what something they like to see. I mean, just to show you, there are people that like The Acolyte. They can't tell you why, but they just say they liked The Acolyte. Now, with this stuff, it gives us a lot of good feels. Like you're watching these guys do a lot of the cool Star Wars films that we're liking, because it gives you something that the fans always wanted. But you're going to also get people that will, I think it's going to become more niche. It's going to become more, and I think that's kind of why Netflix does some of the stuff that it puts out there, like the objectionable things, because they want every bit of audience they can find. But you said earlier today, they don't have IPs. They don't have anything that's going to gravitate to people. Now, for a couple of generations, we're going to have some content that of things like Star Wars, Marvel, Star Trek, things that people still liked and they want to see carried through authentically. But then what's going to come next? You see it with the Disney parks. Universal is doing all the forward-thinking things with, How to Train Your Dragon, Nintendo, all of this stuff that they're working on. And Disney is kind of like, well, we're going to do another remake of something we've already made. They're not building anything for the future. Which is kind of like why they need some of these different IPs. And everybody keeps crying out for original content instead of just the remakes. So the AI is going to do that for people. But I think what's first is going to happen is that people are going to take the AI and make the versions of things that they wanted to see. Redo The Last Jedi, where Luke's actually a hero, and it turns out that Rey really was a nothing burger and just kind of moves off to the side, and we can have the stories that we wanted. I think you're going to see people take AI and they're going to fix movies that were good concepts, but they were done poorly, or that was something else was added into it. Now, after all that is exhausted and people start to create things on their own, that's going to be the big mystery about where it goes to from there. And I think it's going to be so individualized. I wonder if anything is going to have mass appeal.
By the way, we're watching Rose pulling Jack up on the door. I always said that's how it should be. Andy, when we go back to this for a minute, though, and we'll get everybody in on the discussion, this would have cost millions of dollars to make and 6 months to do. And now you can make it in 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, whatever, but at almost no cost in comparison. And I think what this means is that you remember how Transformers, when Michael Bay came in and it was just giant explosions, and kind of the same thing as James Cameron with Avatar. There's a certain group of people, and it's not small. They'll pay anything to go see big explosions and worlds and immersion and all that. This brings that down. This contracts that cost to almost nothing, right? This deflates the cost of doing anything special effects to just nothing. And now it's going to be all about the story. And it also simultaneously means that anybody can just work around the gatekeeping system that existed forever. So you don't have to go convince Netflix or some studio exec. You don't have to go sit on the couch. You can just put this stuff out there and win against your friends, your peers, everybody. It's the full democratization of entertainment. I have concerns about what this is going to do to human actors. I get that. And to all the technical people, I am not ignorant to the flaws here, but I also know this is going to completely destroy what Hollywood tried to set up to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Well, now.
Oh, here comes Lou. Lou, you wanted Jack to survive. You know it's true.
I could care less. I mean, but look, let us take, just as off the top of my head, Iron Man, the movie that's really started the whole MCU franchise, even though there'd been other attempts. It was impressive. It was CGI filled. It had all kinds of wonderful effects. And it wouldn't have meant a tinker's dam, as the saying goes, without Downey making that character somebody we gave a damn about. And so you can have all of the wonderful effects in the universe, but unless you've got a character that A, is compelling, B, is fun, and C, that you want to know what happens next in his story, it's all for nothing. It really is.
Yeah, it's all about the story now. It's well, and it's about, okay, so Lou, what you're talking about is Downey brought a special. Same thing as what happened with Jack Sparrow.
Downey and Favreau figured it out and made it work, and then everybody else fell into that ethos. And without it, all the special effects in the universe aren't going to make that persistent, aren't going to make that something that can start a franchise, can start a dynasty of movies. And all of these things I've seen, oh, yeah, they can make all the effects for 39 cents. But for what? For who? For what character? It's like we said, remember a few weeks ago, we were showing that wonderful Star Wars thing that somebody did. And I said, I sure wish they'd have come up with their own story and their own IP and said, this is what we intend to do with it. Because, again, it's not about the effects. It's not about the CGI, AI, everything else. It's about, why should I care about the person?
But don't you anticipate, Lou, that that's going to happen? That once you give these tools to the masses.
I see no evidence of it, because I see no evidence that any of these people are thinking that far ahead.
Maybe. But I think people, whenever you get a shiny new toy, whenever you get the fast convertible, what do? You go do the stuff the convertible can do that people know about. But somebody's going to figure out to make something new, I think.
Let's remember that the people who did the big ones, all the Marvel stuff, all the DC stuff, they didn't start from scratch. They started from a heritage of the comic books that had lasted for decades, building up those characters. They might have taken different takes on them. They might have taken different slants on them. But to just from day one come up with somebody that we care about enough to want to know what happens on day two is not something that most amateurs are capable of. I'm sorry to say that.
No, I fully agree with you, Lou. I think the people who are successful, we follow the Pareto principle here, right? I don't want to explain what the Pareto principle is. It's going to take me a little bit to do that, but I'll just say this. To summarize, less than 1% of the content creators are going to get 99% of the success. And we want to make that where you bypass the gatekeeping system to do so. We want ease of access into success if you're a genius. That's what I would like to see. And some genius somewhere is going to get hold of this stuff. Lauren, I want to give you a different kind of question, though. Lauren loves it when I send him something that he's like, why? I had my comments prepared. I was ready to go. Lauren, what we're watching here is, I believe, a demonstration of what gaming could turn into. I don't think it's just Hollywood. I think gaming studios also are in for a heck of a time, because if people can single or double or 10-time prompt a game that's new and original, unlike anything they've played before, that also changes things. And if it's done through cloud computing using fiber optics, then look out. What do you say, Lauren? Lauren, you're muted.
I've got a whole bunch of things I want to respond to there, and I'm not really sure where to start. What I would say regarding gaming is, if you're talking about doing it through cloud-based computing, no, I'm not in favor of that. And there's a number of reasons for that. I think whenever you're going to use AI to develop artwork, that it still needs to be guided by a human intelligence, and that you should use that for your iterative process. And that it's still going to require human effort to get the final result that you want. Otherwise, you're going to have inconsistencies and mistakes that are going to have to be fixed. I take quite a different approach to this, I think, than Lou does when we're talking about the creative aspect of this. And Sure, you're right that there's only going to be a small number of people that are going to be able to leverage this to say what you would call professionally acceptable. But I think the lowering of the barrier to entry helps to get you more of those people in the door who otherwise wouldn't. And this is a tool that allows you to hone your craft quickly to learn what works and what doesn't. And that allows people to skill up as well to get better at what they're doing.
I would agree with you if I thought they were skilling up in storytelling, but they're not. They're skilling up in effects.
No, I don't think that's true at all, because you may not have seen it, but I have had people forward to me original creations that they have done, including long-form series, science fiction of original characters and stuff.
And we're at the stage, Lauren, real quick, we're at the stage where those would not get any attention at all in the headlines or articles because that's not what the journalists are interested in. They're trying to get these big special effects or it looks like a celebrity. So that's where the attention is going to rather than the up and coming storytellers who are using this in a different way.
Yeah, and that's actually there's a little bit of poetic justice going on here, I think, because Hollywood has, by and large, abused and otherwise extended the copyright system to contort it beyond anything that it was intended to be when copyright law was established. And they've relied on that. And now, suddenly, they're facing the fact that Congress is way behind legally when it comes to addressing technology. They barely understand the personal computer at this point. We're decades beyond that. And now, suddenly, people are ignoring copyright law. And when you're talking about China doing this, it's like ByteDance may come out and make a statement saying, oh, yes, Disney, we're very sorry. We're going to put controls on here. They're China. And China has leverage over Disney properties. It's a nice sounding statement, but when push comes to shove, they're going to say, well, we tried, but we failed. Now, I imagine that Disney is probably going to try and lobby Congress pretty hard to put some additional teeth in here, but Congress is way behind the eight ball. I think that what this ultimately does is force us to re-examine copyright and trademark law in a way that hasn't been done in decades, and that is something that I think is necessary.
I do think it's necessary. I do think it's coming. I don't think that China is going to honor anything to do with copyright or brands or IP.
They never have.
They never have. And at the same time, I also think that brands and IP are going to be the most valuable things that a studio can have, because if they set this up the right way, then anytime you generate something using one of their characters, anytime there's a movie or a show made using their characters, they get a portion of it, and it might be a huge portion of it, and that might be bigger than anything that we're currently making, if they play their cards right.
That's the direction I expect things will go. I suspect what the Disney model is eventually going to be is what they're trying to set up legally right now, which is that, okay, you can use AI to create our characters, but if you do, we will claim them and monetize it. And that's not all that different from what happens sometimes on YouTube. For instance, if you've got music that is within your video that somebody else owns a copyright on, then the revenue can be shared between the owner of that music and the person who used it in their channel if they don't completely claim it. So I expect we'll get to more of a hybrid model like that, and ultimately that may lead to more revenue than what you would otherwise get if you just owned the copyright or enforced the copyright to only the right holder. We'll have to see how that all shakes out.
Now this is wonderful. No interruptions, just relax radio on Prelude Pro Radio. I'm so happy WDW Pro and his pals are making this kind of stuff on YouTube. Now I can just sit back, relax, enjoy.
Mr. Floral? Mr. Floral, sir?
Yeah, Coco?
Well, I just noticed that you're doing a WDW Pro bumper ad on the end of the video.
Yeah, I'm just listening to Relax Radio, the new YouTube live stream for all the best instrumentals to study, relax, or even go to sleep to.
But don't you think you're missing something?
No.
Aren't you,
I don't know what.
Aren't these ads usually featuring Wilton?
Nope, not this one, Coco. Relax Radio is all about taking it easy. Wilton is just the opposite. With Relax Radio, everything's about calm and relaxing. You just click on the live stream over at Prelude Pro Radio and let your cares melt away.
Okay, so then I shouldn't tell you that Wilton is currently stuffing aluminum foil in the one kitchen appliance you really should never do that with.
Wow. I gotta say, cooking these days is far more exciting than I remember. That goldfish, though, never want to see that again. Woof. Well,